bring recovery of sight to the blind, and proclaim God's year of Jubilee. Honey on My Lips. Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Sweet Melodies.
It's the break of a new dawn, and with it comes the craziness of the hood.
No, listen, my Christmas hen did not come home to roost. May they all die. The one who stole it, the one who slaughtered it.
Roverman Production, in partnership with National Theatre, presents an original unkillable white play, I Want to Feed You.
How can you live in Germany and make a girl in Ghana pregnant?
Shows on the 6th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 14th, and 15th of September 2024 at the National Theatre. Fridays at 7 p.m. Saturdays at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Sundays at 1 p.m., 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Rate 200 Ghana cedis. Tickets available via all regular outlets on the Roverman app and via short code *365 *535 #050 554 6010. WhatsApp 050 554 6030. Sponsors: Kova, Gino Tomato Mix, GCB Bank, and Tilly's Communications Partner M Notify. Roverman Productions. Be the difference.
94.3 FM.
Rocking 24 hours a day in stereo.
Oh, stop it. Nothing like red with soft plantain. What?
Oh, watch out, Italia there. That be the real do, my guy.
Hey, what is going on?
Every day we're faced with choices. What to eat, how much to eat, when to eat it, and even how to eat it. Food is a very important part of our daily lives. Why not focus on getting it right? Tune in to Food in Focus as we discuss everything diet related and help you make healthy choices. Food in Focus comes your way every Friday at 11 a.m. here on Sweet Melodies 94.3 FM. Remember, you are what you eat. Food in Focus, sorting out fact from fiction.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to today's edition of Food in Focus. This is a nutrition, diet, and a health program, and we take delight in bringing you all the facts that you need to know when it comes to eating, your diets, and everything in between. So, as always, we take up topics, and we've been talking about gut health for a while. Today we're talking specifically about managing common gut symptoms through diet. And I have with me in the studios registered dietitian, just one of them, Evans Adra, with us here in the studios. Hi, Evans. How are you doing?
Hi, Kweku. I'm doing excellently well.
Wonderful. It's wonderful to have you with us here in the studios once again. And I was telling Evans just before we came on that it seems we have a real life case study right now because I'm a bit bloated today. So we're trying to diagnose what it could possibly be. And I told him that I ate granite soup and rice last night. And so, Evans, why am I bloated this morning? Because I don't usually react to granite soup that way.
All right. Thank you. A good morning to our cherished listeners all over the world. Mm-hmm. And it is a privilege to come your way one more time. Just for the benefit of those who are joining us for the first time on this series.
Yeah.
And when we talk about gut simply means the digestive system,
okay,
which is the food processing center.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you put in something in a form of food, whether solid or liquid,
mm-hmm,
it will have to be, mashed,
okay,
or grinded.
Yes.
The scientists will tell you digest it so that the nutrients that are embedded in them will be liberated for absorption, for assimilation.
Okay.
That is to mean that they should become part of the body.
Right.
And so looking at what we are discussing today, it is to basically look at what is affecting the digestive system, the food processing center, or the mechanical food processing center, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And then how we can manage. So moving to what you described earlier.
Yes.
Well, you said you don't mostly react to granite soup.
That way, no, I don't.
Anyway, but I'm sure if we are to go deeper, it may be because you ate late.
Okay.
The food was not properly digested.
Yeah.
And if there is an indigestive issue, it also sometimes manifests as bloating. So you feel gassy, you feel full, although you have not eaten anything. You may have visited the loo, but that sensation will still be there after some time before you will stop feeling it.
Okay. Thankfully, I don't have any pain though. So
okay, that is it.
Yeah.
So let me.
But I was wondering also, could this be linked to, because I haven't done my regular exercise in like 2 weeks, I have to confess.
Okay.
I've been extremely busy. But usually I try to do like 2 or 3 times a week, but it's been a while. So I'm just wondering is there any correlation? Because I know that exercise also helps.
It helps in the bowel movement.
Okay.
And that will, in a way, prevent constipation.
Okay.
But from my earlier engagement with you, you had visited the loo this morning.
Today, yes.
So it's clearly indicating that it is not anything that has to do with constipation.
It's not bowel related.
It's not related to the bowel.
Okay.
So it may clearly be a digestive, an indigestive issue.
Okay.
Where the food is not properly broken down.
Either ways, I'm repenting. I'm doing my exercise today. Because it really has been a while.
And so a quick tip for that, just in case you are you don't eat early and as late as 9, 10 and so on.
Okay.
You can.
It's 9 late though, if you're sleeping around 12.
It's actually late.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Precisely speaking, for any heavy meal, it is expected that latest by 6 o'clock or 6:30, you should have your supper.
Listeners, please, I hope you heard that.
That is if you want to go heavy.
Yeah.
However, if because of work, you return home late, and you still want to eat, you can refrain from the heavy eating.
Okay.
Somebody may still be poised to eat banku, to have the kinky and so on.
Sound of poised.
If you really want to go that way, what you can do is to drastically reduce the carb, the kinky itself, the banku itself, the fufu itself. Increase the soup, increase the stew.
Right.
If possible, try to have a glass or 2 of water before you start consuming the main meal, so that you don't have a lot of mechanical work, mechanical processing, which has to do with the digestion of the food to be done. Because if you eat late, you need close to 2.5 hours to 3 hours for the food to be properly digested before absorption will take place. May I also mention that if you give more food to your stomach, it is possible that the number of hours it will take the food to digest will also
be longer.
Because there is more food to work on. You see the way it is. So if you have your fufu, your banku as late as 10, as late as 11, and we are looking at 2.5 to 3 hours, it may prolong. So you may wake up at say 4, 3, and food is still not proper. Digestion is not complete. And we can have some of these symptoms occurring.
Okay. All right. So we're basically talking about how do you call it? Gut and specifically managing gut symptoms through diet. Okay, yes. So we've talked a bit about bloating, which is the condition I'm experiencing right now. And but there are others. But maybe let's mention first of all what the common. I jumped right into it because that was a personal need.
be
But
fulfilled.
what are some of the common gut symptoms, and how do they impact our daily life?
Thank you, Kweku. So let me start by...
Oh, before you go on, though, let me just mention we're live on Facebook and YouTube as well. So you can just go on there, Sweet Melodies FM, and comment, like, share, subscribe, whatever that we do these days. Remember, it's Facebook and YouTube, so you can go on there and listen to this interview as well. And if you have any questions, I forgot to mention that as well, you can send them through to 0279 100600. That's 0279 100 600. Okay, Evans, please go ahead.
Thank you. So let me come from this angle. When we talk about symptoms, symptoms are the experiences, the feelings of the patient, which must be reported to the doctor before any other assessment could be done.
Okay.
But when we talk about the signs, it is what the doctor will see. Most often than not, some of them are measurable values.
Okay.
So when we are talking about gut symptoms, we are looking at how you feel within your digestive system, whether before eating, immediately after you have eaten, or sometimes some hours after you have taken a particular food. Now, they basically suggest the fact that there is issue with how your food is being digested. So it's basically a digestive, or they are basically digestive, issues. Now, they manifest in different ways, and sometimes they manifest as constipation. And then if you put that aside, some also manifest as diarrhea. As a then quickly you bring it out. That is also one. Sometimes it presents or manifests as heartburns.
Okay.
So you have a burning or a painful sensation at your chest after eating. In fact, it is very, very discomforting. So that is also another way. Sometimes it also manifests as bloating. So when there are digestive issues, these are the signs, or these are the things the patient or the individual will feel and report to the doctor. Or these days, it's been 4 days, 5 days, I've never been able to visit the loo before. When I eat, I feel that there is a burning sensation on my chest. I find it difficult to add on to drink water. It is very discomforting. That is also another. This time around, I feel very gassy, and so on, manifesting as flatulence, and so on. Now, if we look at all of these presentations of the common gut symptoms, one thing it does is that if you want to look at it individually, for example, the bloating and the gas, in fact, it is one thing that affects social interaction.
Okay.
You are going for a public gathering, and then you are suffering from this condition. Within the next 20, 30 minutes, you have to let out a gas, and so on. Now, because of the smelly nature of it, sometimes you may not be very stable even at your meeting. So that can affect your social interaction.
Can't concentrate, po.
Not at all, because the thing is moving up and down.
I know.
Within you. Until you let it out, you are not going to be free.
And there's some of the movements you're not sure if it's poop or it's just gas.
See,
So either way, you have to visit the loo to be sure, and it can be
another
inconvenient.
thing, you are not sure whether it is going to come out loud or whatever. You see, so these are some of the things. So it affects social, interaction. That is one key thing. If you put that aside, it comes with some pain, some discomfort. So you'll be restless, you'll not be stable even whilst you are seated.
Right.
That is also another effect. If you want to take the diarrhea, you will definitely not be able to go to work. And if you don't go to work, that will affect productivity. And if it is something that will persist, if care is not taken, you may end up losing your job and what have you.
Right.
So it sort of causes a decline in productivity. That is one key thing. If you put aside this very one, and we want to talk about the heartburns, it comes with pains, it comes with discomfort. So generally speaking, these are things that will affect the socio-economic life of the individuals.
Okay.
It can affect your pocket because some of them, before you are relieved, you have to go to the pharmacy, buy one medication or two before you can be able. So that in a way can affect your health expenditure. And that in a way, you see, when it comes to health, it is not something that people mostly budget for, especially in this part of our country.
True.
Because they are always waiting for something to
happen
before they go to the hospital, do comprehensive analysis.
You kind of feel like you're wasting your money if you are well and you're going to the hospital.
Exactly.
I think that's the general notion.
You see, so most of these things strike unexpectedly. So when it strikes, do you know the income or the budget they mostly visit? It is the food budget now.
Yeah.
So what is set aside for a weekly shopping for food, they go in quickly to attack that. And that will go a long way to affecting the nutrition of the family, even for that particular in a period of time. So if we talk about all these gut symptoms, in a way, socioeconomically, we are all impacted. And in fact, socially, we are impacted. And these are things we have to be thinking about so that we can channel some of our energy, some of our resources, and make certain deliberate lifestyle changes that will not put us at the risk of getting most of these symptoms.
Wonderful. Like I said, the number to send your messages to is 0279 100 That is 0279 100 600. You can send a regular text message or a WhatsApp message to that same number. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, you can also send your comments there. I will be glad to ask the dietitian your questions so that we can have answers. Okay, so with respect to the common symptoms and how it impacts daily life, I think we've talked about bloating, we've talked about abdominal pains, chest burns, and all of that. Now let's talk about some of the dietary changes that can help to, alleviate some of these conditions, bloating, abdominal pain, and all of that.
Yes.
What do you need to do? What are some of the things you have to eat to prevent or to, maybe if you have the condition already, deal with it?
All right.
So for instance, as I'm feeling bloated today, is there anything I can do, like eat or to help the situation? Do you get?
Yes, thank you, Kweku. Now, let me start from this angle. Let me state that the food an individual eats can contribute to some of the symptoms that the individual is experiencing from the digestive system.
Okay.
Now, apart from the food, some medications can also contribute to some of the symptoms. For example, constipation.
Okay.
That can actually contribute. Now, if we put that aside also, certain lifestyle changes, for example, refusal to have regular exercise can also result in that.
Okay.
Now, let me address the food component.
Okay.
Now, there are some group of foods that basically produce or form gas once they are eaten.
Okay.
They produce gas naturally when you eat them.
Okay.
And so the way forward will be to try to eliminate those foods that produce excessive gas once they are consumed.
Okay.
One of such food is cabbage.
Really?
Yes. Of course, it may not apply to everybody.
Everyone. Okay.
I, for instance, if I take it, I don't have a problem. But Kweku or Kofi may have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But generally, it is one of the foods that is considered as, gas forming.
Cabbage?
Yes, cabbage.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard that.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Exactly. So, if you are a victim or a culprit, what we are supposed to do is to try to eliminate it from your diet.
Okay.
Now, if you don't eliminate it at all, you can reduce how much of it you introduce into your meal.
Okay.
So that is one thing. If you put the cabbage aside, our Gobe Eaters Association, Gobe is one of the beans, is one of the gas forming foods.
Okay.
And so I know that a lot of people who consume this will, if given the opportunity, will testify that, if they take the beans, they flacculate a lot and so on. They tend to have some bloating accompanied with pain and so on. So gobe is one of it. Okay. We also have cauliflower. Cauliflower is also a gas-forming, food. If you put that aside, we also have, a number of the food products. Some people have problem with egg. Kosia animeko. A lot of people love that.
I was telling someone recently that, believe it or not, I've never had some before. I really should try it. I don't know what the big A about it is. I was made to feel like I'm missing something very, very great. I'm like, kosia animeko is what? But, Anyway, please go ahead.
So these are some of them. There is what we call broccoli. Broccoli is also a gas-forming, a food. Okay. What I'm saying may not apply to everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
Somebody will have the broccoli, he or she will not have issue. Another will have it, and then the person will have issue.
Yeah.
But if you look at the list of foods that produce copious amount of bloating, gas and so on, these ones are rated as one. So the way forward is to try to eliminate this group of food from whatever you are preparing. If you are so addicted and you think that eliminating them will be a problem, don't introduce much.
Like
just
you can imagine your life without gobe, for instance.
You see, my brother. So cut down on the consumption.
Okay.
Another thing we have to, look at is one group of vegetables we call the cruciferous vegetables.
Cruciferous?
Yes.
Hey, why does that sound so scary?
And here the cabbage is part, the broccoli is part, the cauliflower is part. They are also known to be gas forming. So let us, note them down. If we know that you are somebody who suffers regularly from bloating, from gas, and so on, try to reduce or completely, eliminate them.
Okay.
Now, another group I want to talk about is the soft or the fizzy drinks, carbonated drinks.
Right.
In fact, these ones, the moment you start opening them, already they are telling you that
gas is
I have gas inside of me. So make sure you don't venture. The moment you venture, you are going to have problem. So you have the warning even before you consume it.
I know.
So the right thing to do is to do your best to refrain. If you are somebody who is easily predisposed to bloating or digestive issues, we will advise you to keep them at bay. Don't bring them closer to you before you become even tempted to consume it. So these are foods we have to keep an eye on. Now, I want to talk about the whole grains.
Okay.
Some of them, for example, our maize, our whole wheat, our oats. Well, some people may have issues with them.
Okay.
Now, let me draw the attention of our listener to the maize and then to the wheat.
Okay.
There is what you call sprouting. So you can actually...
Yeah, where? Sprouting is where? That sounds so scary.
Yes.
Is sprouting inside your stomach or where?
No. So the sprouting is done outside the body. So you soak, for example, the maize.
Right, yeah.
Or your wheat or your millet in water a day.
Yeah.
And then you bring it out of the water. You spread it on, any decent, whether it is a sack, whether it is a rubber, in a dark room. Then occasionally you sprinkle water on it. So some few days, 2 or 3 days after, you see that the grains will start germinating gradually.
Yeah.
You wouldn't allow it to over germinate or over sprout. Then you take it to the mill and then, grind it or mill it. Now, the sprouting actually reduces the sugars in the whole grains that are responsible for the production of the gas. So sprouting will reduce the gas forming sugars to the barest minimum, so that after consumption they wouldn't have issues with it.
Right.
Now, if you put aside the whole grains, the peas, for example, our beans, we can actually soak them in water overnight to reduce the gases. And for those who have been practicing
it, when you soak the
you
beans,
will see
on the
a lot of
surface.
bubbles escaping. In fact, the next day if you go, you see it on the surface. It is a clear sign that some of the gas-forming sugars have actually been reduced. So that is one way to tackle these bloating, indigestion issues. So it is one key thing.
How about millets? Does that
millet as well? We can sprout the millet, and it's one way. Last time we were talking about the microorganisms in our digestive system, the microbiome, and we stated that for a healthy microorganisms within our digestive system, one key component we should be looking at is foods that have been fermented. Now, the sprouting process paves some way for some degree of fermentation to go on. Now, coupled with the reduction in the number of the sugars that to form the gas, it is a perfect blend for a healthy gut. So that is one key thing I will advise our cherished listeners to do. So as to what foods to pay attention to, I want to talk about, as I've mentioned, our cruciferous vegetables are one. Our carbonated or fizzy drinks are also on the list. We also want to look at, our whole grains, those that are giving us issues. Now, let me talk briefly about fiber, dietary fiber. Now, let me state that dietary fiber plays a very important role when it comes to the health of our digestive system. But let me mention that too much of everything they say is very bad. Now, the fiber will make sure that your stool is bulky for you to be able to have a free emptying. But when it is taken in excess, what happens is that the fiber have what we call hydrophilic heads. And what I mean by hydrophilic is that they are water loving. And because they are water loving, they tend to retain a lot of water. Now, this same fiber is digested within the large intestine. Now, the digestive process in the large intestine results in the production of gas. So the more dietary fiber you consume, the more gas that will be produced in your large intestine after the digestion is completed. So one thing I want them to do is, they are having issues. They need not to add so much. For example, in the stew, or even a salad, they can start gradually, and as tolerance improve, they can increase the amount until they reach the quantity that they are able to tolerate. It is a very sound advice that I'm giving to our cherished listeners. So it is not always to have so much. If you think that having so much is giving you challenges, try to reduce how much of it you are consuming. Now, this is the reason why it is always important to contact your healthcare provider. Now, let me talk about how much an individual will need. Somebody needs between 25 to 30 grams of dietary fiber a day. How is this distributed over your meal? So that you are not having so much at a time, which will bring problem to you. So when your meal is properly planned, you know how much must go into your breakfast, go into your lunch, go into your supper, and even for your snacks. So this is the way to actually go. So try your best. If you are having issues, get in touch with your healthcare provider for a tailored plan that will suit your needs and your health.
Okay, wonderful. The number again is 0279-100-600. That's 0279-100-600. Very, very informative discussion we're having today here on Food and Focus, managing common gut symptoms through diet. I have with me in the studios a registered dietitian, Evans Adra, who is doing justice to the topic so far. But let's look at some questions that have come in, Evans. This one says, please, I think you mentioned gut starts from the mouth, right?
Yes,
What
please.
if you have a weird sensation when swallowing? Not exactly painful, but uncomfortable.
Not exactly painful, but uncomfortable.
I don't know if you're describing the kind of, because sometimes, like when you swallow a bone or how do you call, I almost said thorn. In Kasai is what?
Yes,
it's a bone,
bones,
right?
Yeah.
After a while, it may have gone, but like,
You
there's
feel
a
that
weird
it is
sensation.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's what you're describing or whoever sent this message. Anyway, it's a weird sensation.
Weird sensation.
With swallowing.
So, if it has to do with the bone, proper chewing of the food is important. If forgetfully the person swallows and the person finds it irritating within the esophagus, the person can try taking some liquid or water to see whether it will push it down, or try swallowing saliva. If it is not going, try to, expel it by coughing. That is a way to go.
Okay.
But some of them can be very stubborn, so
I know.
they will irritate you for some time before officially finding their way down there. Now, people try to insert their arms just to forcefully
fingers,
vomit.
Yeah.
That is also a common, I would say, a local practice that most people indulge in. Now, if it has to do with swallowing difficulty in general, there are people who are...
It's not bone related.
It's not bone related. Yeah. It may be water related. It may be related to pudding, taking in of puddings, or common porridges. Sometimes even normal food, the rice, the fufu. Sometimes it is as a result of an underlying condition coming from stroke. And so we call it dysphagia. There are different routes that feeding can be done temporarily, awaiting the improvement in the symptoms. Then we can start. So we have what we call, nastrogastric. The food can be passed through a tube inserted into the nostril, straight into the stomach, sometimes beyond the stomach, and what have you. Sometimes it is inserted orally. Sometimes, depending on the severity of the issue, we have intravenous feeding. We call it parenteral nutrition. So it depends on the severity of the symptoms that the patient is presenting, and that will give us an indication as to how the feeding, should be done. So I beg to differ. I don't know what exactly the person... Yeah. One thing too is that if the food is not properly swallowed, it remains within the esophagus. There is something we call aspiration. Now, if you look at our anatomy properly, we have a passage for air and then a passage for food. Now, these two passages are regulated by, a structure in there. I will not bore our listeners with so much of the anatomy, but it is possible that failure to swallow will result in breathing in the food particles into our trachea and hence into our lung. When that happens, it can result in choking, and then pneumonia can also start from there. So it is multidimensional when it comes to the swallowing difficulty. I hope I'm able to hit directly on what the person is asking though, but it is having a lot of arms or branches.
Okay. All right, great. This one says, please, does vinegar on cabbage help if you react to it? Tolu.
No, it may not help. Now, let me state that there are microorganisms sometimes which are not completely washed out when it comes to some of the vegetables. Now, if you put the microorganisms themselves, sometimes they leave their byproducts, which we call toxins. If we have the opportunity, we may visit food intolerance and the food poison, foodborne infections, and so on as time goes on.
Right.
But the truth is that the reason why the vinegar is applied or added is to kill or destroy. Every acid has a cider or a destructive effect on living tissues. Hence, these microorganisms. So the reason why the vinegar is added is to kill the microbes, which may be dangerous when eating together with the food. That is the essence. And it is not to alleviate whatever or prevent whatever symptoms that may be associated with the consumption of the cabbage or any other vegetable.
Okay.
So that is how to look at it.
Okay. All right, great. So the vinegar doesn't necessarily help.
It doesn't necessarily help.
Okay. All right, great. I think I'll open the phone lines now as well because of time, and also I've missed a few calls. So if you want to call in, please do that now on 0279 100600, 0279 100 600. A question here says, please, what causes gastric obstruction outlet? What causes gastric obstruction outlet? Okay, not sure I know what
gastric obstruction. So to obstruct is to block.
To block, yeah.
So sometimes a disease condition can happen. Sometimes it may be as a result of surgery that can also result in gastric obstruction. And so infections can also, predispose an individual to gastric obstruction. And when it happens, because there is a blockade within, the truth is that movement of the food through becomes very difficult.
Okay.
So, for example, if the terminal end of your stomach is obstructed or blocked, it can't open. So that is one thing. Some medications may be contributing factors and so on. So the cause may be very, very different. It may not be one-sided.
Okay.
Of course, it can affect the nutrition of the individual.
Okay. All right. This one says, please, I choke a bit more than average many times when I'm not even eating, just talking. Any help?
Whoa. I will recommend the person sees a doctor.
Okay.
On that.
Okay. All right. Great. The number is 0279 100600. That's 0279 100 600. We're talking about managing common gut symptoms through diet. Okay, Evans, let's continue. So let's talk a bit about fiber-rich foods. Are they helpful when it comes to these gut conditions?
Yes and no.
I think in our past discussions we've mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we have a caller. Let's answer this call and come back. Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Good morning. My name is Colin from Latabio Koshi.
Okay, your name is Colin?
Hope.
Yes. Okay, Hope. Calling from Latabio Koshi. Okay. All right, great.
Yes,
thank you, Hope. Please go ahead.
Yes. All right. So my issue is formerly I used to take what we call gobe a lot. But I developed as in conditions of heartburns.
Okay.
Yes, and in gas, so I stopped taking it. Yes, I stopped taking it. But when I take in wache, I don't, experience that.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's interesting because they both have beans.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
But when I take gobe pure with gari, I experience, but with wache, I don't have that condition.
Okay.
And then secondly, I want to ask, in the absence of vinegar, I use salt in washing my vegetables. Is it also advisable?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Hope, for answering your question now.
Thank you. So let me start with the salt. The salt is a perfect replacement for the vinegar.
Okay.
So he can go ahead and use it.
Okay.
Now, another word for the heartburns is acid reflux.
Okay.
Now, the heartburns occurs basically because there is a reflux of the stomach content back to the esophagus.
Okay.
And then back into the mouth. Some people have that back into the mouth. Now, within the stomach, acid is produced, hydrochloric acid is produced. Now, that is meant to work on the food in the stomach.
Yeah. Right.
And there are barriers, there are protective linings for the stomach. So even if it is produced, so long as food is in there, it will not affect the stomach.
Okay.
But in the absence of food, it does. Now, when that is returned to the esophagus, the esophagus is not adapted to accommodate the acid. And that will end up corroding the lining of the esophagus.
Okay.
When corrosion occurs, nerve endings are exposed. Message is sent to the brain, and so on.
Okay.
So what can typically cause that? We have something we call gastric esophageal reflux disease.
Okay.
We call it GERD for short.
Okay.
Now, when that happens, sometimes it is because there is an increase in the intra-abdominal pressure.
Okay.
What can cause that? Number one, for people who are pregnant. Number two, for people who overeat. Overeating can result in that. Number three, eating too fatty food. So for this particular caller, I'm sure that the quantity of oil
in the gobe
may be too much.
Okay.
That could be a possible cause.
Okay.
Sometimes the food is too spicy.
Okay.
That can also be a contributing factor.
Okay.
So one recommendation I'll give to him is to possibly review the quantity of oil being added, and then the spices that are added.
Okay.
You should review, look at the quantity, if possible, reduce, and then try it again and see whether there will be a reflex.
Okay.
Another thing is to completely do away, even with the oil, and consume that. You can have your fried plantain, your red, locally said, and try that and see. For all you know, it will work for him that way.
Okay.
So let him visit it again. I don't know whether I've missed anything.
No, I think basically that's it. I found the situation of beans in both foods interesting, because there's beans in wache, there's beans in gobe, but he was reacting to the gobe and not the wache.
Yes.
I found that interesting, but I think you've cleared that up a bit with the oil.
With the oil.
Yeah.
That could
so
be
maybe the
because
oil quantities.
The oil quantity.
Okay.
Then thank you for mentioning that. The oil, which may be more on the beans as compared to the wache kind, that could also be a contributing factor.
I'm tempted to say that, Hope, you're blessed that you're reacting this way. I mean, not it's not a comfortable situation, but I feel like most people don't have that, and then they just pile on the fats.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is, I'd rather my body gives me a sign so that I go off something rather than, so that's what I mean. But
exactly.
Anyway.
Thank you. May I also add that when we look at these conditions, sometimes they resemble other issues. Sometimes they are intolerances.
Okay.
Intolerant to dairy products, milk. Can also manifest as bloating.
Right.
You see the way it is. So it is better to take record of whatever you are eating, the constituent, so that the moment you start having any aversion, any pain, any bloating, any constipation, you can quickly do a self-assessment. Find out, I ate this the last time. This is how I felt. What could be the possible contributing component to the problem that I am going through? Then you can quickly eliminate some. If you don't eliminate completely, you may reduce some of the components of the food and then do a gradual introduction to see whether or not the same feeling would be repeated. That is one way to do a self-check. It is very, very important for us to do that.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. This one says, good morning, please. My name is Isabel. What type of food is good for somebody with functional dyspepsia? I think DYSPESIA.
The functional dyspepsia, indigestion, also known as indigestion.
Oh, okay. Who is blood group O positive? Okay.
Thank you. There is a lot of brouhaha about these blood groups.
Blood groups, yeah.
And as dietitians, let me state emphatically that we don't support the blood group diet.
Okay.
We don't support blood group diet. What we recommend is intuitive eating. Let me say that the cow, the goat, the sheep, nobody teaches them what to eat. They eat responsively to the way they feel.
Yes.
That is one key thing. So we don't support, we don't endorse the blood group.
Please, we're not saying that also means that you should eat everything you feel like
exactly.
eating.
So the bottom line is that if any particular food is compatible with your body,
yes.
If you eat it, you will show no reaction.
No matter what your blood group is.
No matter the blood group.
Okay.
But if if the food, your body is incompatible with the food, the moment you put it in, the body will be giving you signal that Kwame Kofi, this food you have put in, I don't like it. So make sure you don't give it to me again.
Okay.
That is the way forward, and not to be looking at blood group, because there is a history. Maybe we have to look at this topic
I think so
and
too.
Debunk all the associated myths and so on.
Yeah.
So we will look at that.
Okay.
And how did they come about these blood group? That what is the history behind it?
Yeah.
Then we can iron out all the controversies surrounding it.
Agreed.
So dyspepsia has a lot of causes.
Okay.
In fact, lack of exercise can be a contributing factor to indigestion.
Okay.
Now, eating food, there are some people, they don't take their time to chew the food properly. So improper chewing of the food.
Awesome.
You are swallowing left, right, center.
I know.
That can also be a contributing factor.
Okay.
Then irregular meal timing. You eat yogurt right now. In the next 30 seconds, you see Achomo, you want to. So if food is not properly spaced out, that can also be a contributing factor.
Okay.
So the cause may be multi-dimensional.
Okay.
And so we may have to talk to the person to figure out what exactly he or she is doing, so that we can be in a better position to well assist or guide him or her. So please, let's talk offline.
Okay. All right. So Evans will give a number you can call Isabel after so that you can be helped. This one says, please, is it normal if you keep getting anti-peristalsis after meals? And anti-peristalsis, is that what you're trying to say? I'm not sure if...
I see. So
anti-peristalsis is what? As in the food comes back up or what?
I'm sure that is what the person is trying to say.
Okay.
So peristalsis is like the movement of the digestive system, the intestines, to permit the movement of the food that we eat.
Yeah.
So if the person, I'm trying to make a meaning out of what he's saying.
Yeah.
Anti means that now the movement does no longer occur.
Okay, yeah.
So either there is some form of stasis, so no movement, and so on. And then if I also want to get the person better to vomit, having a sensation of vomiting, rather than the food stay in and moving down, it is the person rather feels like throwing up, and so on. I don't know whether I'm able to make a meaning
out of this.
The truth is that if the muscles of your digestive system are not moving, and for that matter you are constipating, it may be that you are not exercising.
Okay.
It may be that you are not eating enough fruits and vegetables, because that is where the fiber is. It may also be that you are not taking enough water. I will not say liquid or fluid, because
the person said as in the food comes back up.
So throwing
which
up.
is what I thought.
Exactly. Exactly. So there are various ways of looking at that. So one thing is to try ginger and see if you feel so nauseous and you feel like throwing up every now and then. One thing you are to do is to try ginger and see. Another thing you can do is, instead of having all your food being liquid in nature, try to have the solid, the dry food. That could also help to solve your problem. But more importantly, you can visit the doctor as well to figure out what exactly. Because for those who are pregnant, it is as a result of altered sense of smell. Their sense of smell becomes heightened when they conceive, for which reason they tend to spit all around. So that could be so. You may need to seek some medical attention for a proper assessment and proper approach to management.
Okay, I think we've answered all our questions. If I'm not, I think we have. And we really have run out of time. So I'll let Evans wrap up. And in the wrapping up, talk very, very briefly about, healthcare professionals and how we can work with them, to manage our gut health properly, and all of that.
Very important. Thank you. So let me start on that note. If you are experiencing any of these symptoms, the right thing to do is to consult. Don't self-medicate.
Okay.
It is very, very important. Now, you can call to book an appointment with your doctor or with your registered dietitian, especially if it is food-related, because the dietitians are the food aspect.
Right.
Now, one thing you cannot do away with is discipline. Discipline. If you are given a guidelines to follow, in fact, ours is not out of opposition. We agree together as to what we want to do. There are people who have all manner of misconceptions. You see, dietitian for her who come over. Rebecca said, "Don't eat that. Don't eat it." It is not true. We work with what you are already eating, and do just a little modification for you, as it may help, to improve your health. So clear that misconception.
That is just on your side, please. Remember that.
They will say that don't eat fufu again, or don't eat kinky again, or don't eat rice again. Or it is not true. We will work with what you're already eating. So discipline is very important. So generally speaking, we've looked at, common gut symptoms. We've looked at constipation. We've looked at heartburns. We've looked at indigestions. We have looked at bloating and gas. All of these, to some extent, are related to diet. If you are having any of these, please do your best to get in touch, and we will be ever ready to assist you. Now, let me state that we didn't talk about constipation, diarrhea, although, but if you have it, try to rehydrate, take in a lot of water, refrain from the hot, the peppering kind of food, and do more of the ORS at home.
All right, great. Thank you, Evans. We have to run out, but your number, please.
So my number is 0243827612. 0243827612. WhatsApp, text message, and so on, and I'll be ready to help you. Thank you for your audience, Kwiku, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming as well. Have a wonderful afternoon, listeners. Next week, I'll come your way again with another edition of Food in Focus. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a minute after midday here on Sweet Melodies 94.3 FM. You're listening to our major news bulletin. We're broadcasting live from 111 Parlors Loop, North Kaneshie. Join us online on www.sweetmelodiesfm.com. On Radio Garden and on TuneIn, you can listen to us at Sweet Melodies FM. My name is Anakwe Kwampofo. In this edition of the news, government allocates 50 million Ghana cedis to WAEC for upcoming examinations. President Akufo-Addo says, "I've delivered. Vote for Baumia to continue my good works." In international news, Harris vows tougher approach on migration and supports weapons for Israel. Typhoon Shanshan drenches Japan, prompting landslide and flood alerts. In our sports news, Victor Osimhen closed on agreements with Saudi side Al Ali. Our news now in detail. Starting off in local news. Ministry of Education has announced the release of 50 million Ghana cedis to the West African Examination Council (WAEC) to support the administration of the upcoming Basic Education Certificate Examination and the West African Senior School Certificate Examination (WASI). The disbursement underscores the government's commitment to meeting its financial responsibilities to WAEC, ensuring that the organization can conduct these critical examinations without any disruptions. In a press release yesterday, the ministry emphasized its dedication to maintaining a stable and effective educational environment for all Ghanaian students. The funds are expected to cover the costs associated with the logistics and operations required for the successful conduct of the BECE and the WASI. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has asserted that his government has performed admirably despite the challenges it faced, including the COVID-19 pandemic. According to him, his administration has achieved significant successes across various sectors of the economy. Speaking at the 13th Biennial and 51st Conference of the Methodist Church of Ghana in Kumasi, the president urged Ghanaians to entrust Dr. Bawumia with their mandate to continue the work initiated by the NPP government. I can say in all good conscience that I have not betrayed the mandate the good people of Ghana conferred on me on 2 successive occasions. All this has been done in part due to the support I have received from you and the church, and above all due to the grace of Almighty God, through whom I express my deepest gratitude, he said. National Chairman of the NDC, Johnson Esiedun Ketia, has urged traditional leaders and the clergy to advise President Akufo-Addo to ensure a peaceful transfer of power following the December elections. His appeal came in response to calls from the chiefs of Damang, Ashurase in the Nsawam Adojuri constituency for peaceful elections. Esiedun Ketia criticized the president for allegedly tolerating electoral violence and not acting on recommendations from a committee investigating such incidents. He stressed that preventing destabilization depends on chiefs and clergy holding the president accountable. The National Democratic Congress has called on Samuel Atachia, Member of Parliament for Ibuakwa South constituency, to apologize to former President John Dramani Mahama over a comment he made about him. Addressing a crowd in the Eastern region, Samuel Atachia encouraged Ghanaians to remain optimistic about the prospect of excellent governance under Dr. Bawumia's leadership. Ghana is fortunate to have an economist who is composed, knowledgeable, and abstains from alcohol. We are truly blessed. Ghana is on the verge of having a president with wisdom, a leader who is astute and refrains from drinking alcohol. However, the NDC condemned him for the utterance in a press statement signed by its General Secretary, Fifi Kwete. Coming up in our international news, Harris vows tougher approach on migration and supports weapons for Israel. And Typhoon Shanshan drenches Japan, prompting landslide and flood alerts. Details after this break. Stay tuned.
Sweet Melodies News, keeping you updated.
At just 7 years old, his future hangs in the balance. His name is Kelvin Akufo Bekoya Sari. He's been diagnosed with Hall heart.
We observed his strange behavior, but didn't know exactly what was wrong with him. When we took him to the hospital, it was revealed that he has the Hall heart condition.
If you give a little more than you take.
Sweet Melodies FM, together with Kelvin's family, is appealing for support for the total cost of surgery, the CD equivalent of $9,000 US. That's 130,000 Ghana cedis plus. To donate, dial the Sweet Melodies Hall Heart Fund short code *800 *898 hash. Again, *800 *898 hash, and follow the prompts. Your little and your much can go a long way to save Kelvin's life. And the king will answer them, "Don't you know? When you cared for one of the least of these, my little ones, my true brothers and sisters, you demonstrated love for me." Matthew 25:40.
So keep doing what you do, 'cause there's a place up there for people like.
This is the Major News Bulletin, also live on www.sweetmelodiesfm.com.
Welcome back. In our international news, Kamala Harris vowed a tougher approach to migration along the U.S. southern border and said she would not withhold weapons to Israel in her first interview with a major news organization. In the interview, she sought to show she is in command of the issues and give Americans a sense of her policy positions with little more than 2 months until Election Day on November 5th. She was pressed on why her policies on immigration and climate have become more moderate since she ran for president in 2019. "I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed," she told CNN's Dana Bash. She also vowed to turn the page on the divisive rhetoric of the Trump era in the joint interview with her running mate, Governor Tim Walz. Her Republican opponent, Donald Trump, described the interview as boring on Truth Social when it concluded and described Ms. Harris as a fraud. The vice president was forced to defend the White House economic track record as inflation and high cost of living prices continue to hurt Americans. When asked why she hadn't already implemented her ideas to tackle economic hardship, she said they had done a lot of good work already, but there was more to do. Polls suggest that voters would prefer Trump's handling of the economy. Typhoon Shanshan soaked large swaths of Japan with torrential rain today, prompting warnings of flooding and landslides hundreds of miles from the storm's center, halting travel services and shutting production at major factories. At least 4 people have been killed and 99 injured in storm-related incidents in recent days, according to the Disaster Management Agency. In the southwestern region of Kyushu, where the storm that authorities say could be one of the strongest ever to hit the region made landfall on Thursday, residents were surveying the damage after a night of heavy rain and severe winds. The Israeli military says it has killed the head of the Palestinian armed group Hamas in Jenin and 2 other fighters as a major operation continues for a 3rd day in the north of the occupied West Bank. Israeli security forces encountered and eliminated Wissam Kazem in a vehicle and then carried out airstrikes on 2 additional terrorists while they attempted to flee, a statement said. The Palestinian Health Ministry said the 3 men were killed overnight near the town of Zabadeh, southeast of Jenin. Take another short commercial break. We'll return with sports news. Stay tuned.
Spanning the length and breadth of the world, Sweet Melodies News gives you more.
Politics has become a monster in Ghana. Every issue is seen through a political lens rather than a national spectacle. Think Ghana first. Let's begin to view national developments, debates, and policies beyond political party interests. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Civic Education, NCCE.
We bring you sports news just the way you like it here on Sweet Melodies 94.3 FM.
Thank you for staying here on Sweet Melodies 94.3 FM. This is our major news bulletin at midday. In sports, Saudi Arabian side Al Ahly have agreed fees for Chelsea striker targets Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen Al Ahly have agreed a £40 million fee for Brentford for Tony, while reports indicate they have also agreed a £67.3 million fee for Napoli's Osimhen. Both players are set for medicals, with Tony heading to London for his on Friday. But with the Nigerian international yet to give the green light to the move, and Saudi sources indicating Al Ahly are likely to sign just one of the strikers, it is understood Chelsea have not given up on long-term target Osimhen, although the club wage structure would have to be respected for any move to happen. Black Stars coach Otuado has expressed his desire to see left-back Baba Rahman return to the squad despite the player's reluctance to be involved. Ghana recently announced a 23-man squad for the 2025 AFCON qualifiers against Angola and Niger during a press conference held by the GFA on Thursday. Notable absentees from the squad include Andre Ayew, Daniel Amate, and Baba Rahman. Adu revealed that Baba Rahman declined another approach to return to the national team. I hope Baba Rahman will decide to play again at the moment. He doesn't want to come back, Otuado is quoted as saying. Finally, in this bulletin, Chelsea winger Raheem Sterling has been offered to Arsenal. It's looking likely that the 29-year-old will either stay at Chelsea or move to Arsenal today. There's just as much chance of him staying as leaving. Sterling is not involved in any club-to-club discussions. The England international's immediate future will depend on how conversations develop today. That's how we end this afternoon's bulletin of our news. Before we go, a look again at the stories making our headlines. In local news, the Ministry of Education has announced the release of 50 million Ghana cedis to WAEC to support the administration of upcoming BEC and WASI exams. In international news, Kamala Harris vowed a tougher approach to migration along the U.S. southern border and said she would not withhold weapons to Israel in her first interview. And finally, Saudi Arabian side Al Ahly have agreed fees for Chelsea striker targets Ivan Toney and Victor Osimhen. That's it for Sweet Melodies News at midday. Thank you for staying tuned. My name is Nanakweku Ampofo.